to watch Navarro work and watch Eric work and watch Perry work and watch Stephen work. It's, they were our Led Zeppelin. They were the Led Zeppelin of alternative rock, if you will. I think definitely
Agreed.
one of them. Them or Soundgarden. I mean, they were really that first, though. You really heard about them first.
Sex, drugs, rock and roll. Ego, money, and infighting. Those last three don't quite have the same ring to them, but are certainly ever present from the inception of Jane's Addiction. And to be fair, I mean, most bands run into those problems, but they seem to be core values for the Los Angeles alt-rock outfit. Bassist Eric Avery, who has famously been at odds with vocalist Perry Farrell for nearly 40 years, told Guitar World in an interview that was published just days before their latest skirmish, quote, "I'm guardedly optimistic that we can get some music done. The phrase that Dave and I were talking about the other day is, if there is a Jane's Addiction in 2025, then there will be new music for sure. But you just never know if there's going to be a band at all." End quote. And that statement might be what Jane's Addiction boils down to. Once regarded as unapologetically themselves, a cool, a raw, a one-of-a-kind rock band. And though those things may still be true, Jane's Addiction just couldn't get out of their own way. And what is the legacy of a band that can't guarantee its own existence? Jane's Addiction was a band far ahead of their time. The 80s were ruled by hair bands, and bands like Guns N' Roses seemed to be setting the tone for the rock genre in the twilight of that decade. In 1985, Perry Farrell grew tired of his current band Psycom and set out to start something fresh. He was introduced to bassist Eric Avery, whose sister then suggested drummer Stephen Perkins and guitarist Dave Navarro to join the band. Jane's Addiction quickly took over the LA club scene, attracting the attention of many record labels, ultimately signing with Warner Brothers, negotiating the largest advance at the time of somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000. In 1988, they would release Nothing Shocking, but sales would suffer due to MTV not playing their video for Mountain Song as it contained full frontal nudity. Their 1990 follow-up Ritual de la Habitual would result in a 13-month tour highlighting a lot of friction within the band. Perry Farrell would also co-found the Lollapalooza Festival that was initially created as a farewell tour for Jane's Addiction and a way to showcase new artists. Jane's would spend the rest of the 90s apart, only crossing paths with their other projects, which involved Red Hot Chili Peppers and Porno for Pyros. In 2001, Jane's Addiction would reunite without original bassist Eric Avery, leading to the recording of 2002's Strays. And the reunion would be short-lived as another breakup would come in 2004. And Stephen Perkins had this to say about the breakup to Stereo Gum in 2011. Quote, "We always break up if it's not real. We really can't fake it. We can make $1 million for 3 months touring, but we would fucking hate each other, which isn't good. Even with the nostalgia, it's not worth it if it doesn't sound good or look good. One of the things with Jane's is that we have never been good at faking it." End quote. And we will see in a minute just how well that quote has aged just over 10 years later. And this was essentially the story of the band over the next 20 years. They would split up again, reunite for some shows. They released The Great Escape Artist in 2011. And in 2022, Eric Avery would rejoin the band after Foo Fighters' Taylor Hawkins facilitated a meeting between Avery and Farrell before his untimely passing. It finally seemed that Jane's Addiction could operate in a professional manner. And again, I mean, these guys are the epitome of cool. And now they were older, they were wiser, and they were mostly clean. Surely they were mature enough to keep it together and to show the world that they were stronger than ever. Issues in Jane's Addiction started almost immediately. After securing that unprecedented advance of somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000 to record Nothing Shocking, Perry Farrell made it very clear to the band that he wanted 50% of the band's publishing for writing the lyrics and another 12.5% of the remaining 50% for writing the music. The rest of the band were obviously shocked, and they were actually ready to walk out of the project when Farrell wouldn't compromise. Warner Brothers somehow managed to keep the band and their investment intact, with Perry getting exactly what he asked for. Though the rest of the band agreed to their 12.5% each, the cracks were officially formed. And the band, excluding Perry, obviously would go on to wear 12.5% shirts on stage. Not long after the royalties dispute, Farrell would accuse a newly sober Avery of hitting on his girlfriend. Now, Avery obviously denied this, and the argument continued to drive a wedge between members of the band and the Jane's Addiction team. Jane's second album, Ritual de la Habitual, would result in the band embarking on a 13-month tour. Touring is hard for the best of friends. You're locked on buses, on planes, and in green rooms with the same people all day, every day. Now imagine you're in those same spaces with somebody that you aren't really fucking with. Perry Farrell had this to say about that tour, quote, "That 13-month tour behind Ritual was half the reason we wound up unable to stand one another. The other half is that I'm an intolerable narcissist who can't get along with anyone." During the first show of the Lollapalooza tour, Perry and Dave would get into a physical altercation that would cause them to leave the stage.
Did they even get through that set?
You remember that too? Yeah.
No,
Eric?
Dave told me about it. Him and Perry Farrell got in the fucking... Dave was really fucked up. He said, like, he was fucked up. Like, too fucked up to play. And he said that Perry... It was the first night of Lollapalooza, and Perry was fucking pissed. And they got into a fist fight on stage, on the side of the stage. And Dave threw all of his fucking guitars out into the audience. Did you know that?
In the decades following, the drama would be less present, at least physically or what is publicly known. But that leads us to September 13th, 2024. Reports have been circulating that Perry wasn't performing at his best, and then footage from a show in Boston was released of Perry, seemingly unprovoked, attacking Dave Navarro. There were many rumors and explanations surrounding the cause of the incident, including Perry's wife, Eddie, who quickly made a statement on Instagram. This is some of the statement that she made. Clearly, there had been a lot of tension and animosity between the members. The magic that made the band so dynamic. Well, the dynamite was lit. Perry got up in Dave's face and body checked him. Perry's frustration had been mounting night after night. He felt that the stage volume had been extremely loud and his voice was being drowned out by the band. Perry had been suffering from tinnitus and a sore throat every night. But when the audience in the first row started complaining up to Perry, cussing at him that the band was playing too loud and that they couldn't hear him, Perry lost it. The band started the song Ocean before Perry was ready and did the count-off. The stage volume was so loud at that point that Perry couldn't hear past the boom and the vibration of the instruments. And by the end of the song, he wasn't singing, he was screaming just to be heard. But Dave's guitar tech, who you can actually see rushing on stage to break this up, revealed on his podcast that Perry had been struggling with the loss of control over the presentation of Jane's Addiction's live show, such as having dancers on stage. Jane's Addiction has an entire tech team of people. The stage volume doesn't get too loud. And allegedly, had Perry shown up to rehearsals and sound checks, if these problems were present, he would have been able to resolve them. And the guitar tech, Dan, has provided isolated vocal tracks of Perry during the incident.
So check this out. You can hear the band a bit in the background. Yeah. He's in the wrong spot.
Wanna be more like the ocean. I'm not talking baby all action. No, I'm talking
Wrong spot.
all action. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Stop.
Say, oh.
That sounds like just frustration, but check this out.
Fuck these motherfuckers!
The band.
Fuck them! Fuck them! Fuck him!
That's when he hits Dave, pushes Dave. Punch. And again, I want people to understand this. It didn't end there. We actually have it on this recording here.
Come on. It's okay. Come on, guys.
I'll fuck that motherfucker up. Eventually, Dave walks up to ask what the fuck happened, and Perry punches him again. Trying to fuck my show up. Here's Dave.
The fuck was that, you motherfucker? Get the fuck out of here. I never play with you again, you fucking piece of shit. Come on, Dave.
Right there.
That's the punch, yeah.
Was Perry punching Dave. And that one he actually connected with.
Yo, you can hear it.
Right hand
Yeah.
to the left side of Dave's face.
Right.
Now, it's safe to say at this point that Jane's Addiction is officially over. None of the members need to do this, and ideally they were only doing the reunion because they wanted to. They wanted to create and perform together again. I saw a Reddit comment that sparked the thesis of this video. They said, Jane should have stayed broken up in 1991. Let the music stand on its own and the mystique of the band grow. But I think in a strange way, this whole fiasco is part of the tumultuous nature of Jane's Addiction. I mean, I've said it a few times in this video. They were cool. They were raw. They were unapologetically themselves. But they, or maybe just Perry Farrell, couldn't get out of his own way. At the end of the day, the art you leave behind is your legacy. The great art you leave behind is your legacy. One of my musical hot takes is that Weezer is an objectively bad band because they have put out more mediocre music than they have really good music. But the Blue Album and Pinkerton will always stand on their own, and maybe the rest of the music will just be forgotten. Jane's Addiction are far from the only band that are plagued with infighting. But I think if we're talking legacy, in a weird way, this was the only way for Jane's Addiction to go out. Are you disappointed that the Jane's Addiction reunion ended the way that it did? I had the pleasure of seeing them at a festival in 2013. There were dancers on stage, and Dave Navarro was smoking a cigarette while absolutely ripping at guitar. And a 16-year-old Caleb thought that that was the epitome of cool. If there's something that you'd like me to talk about, let me know in the comments. But thank you for checking out the video, and shiny side up.